Wembley Stadium, a place for most Sunderland fans that serves up anguish and despair. Will that change this weekend? 90 minutes away now from our first trophy since 1973. And for this very special match preview here on SAFC Fan TV, I want to meet a Tranmere Rovers fan to see what he's got to say. Will we finally break that Wembley hoodoo? Only time will tell. With your host Jacob Kirkbride, this is the preview for the Papa John's Trophy Final 2021 here at Wembley Stadium. So joining me now is massive Tranmere Rovers fan and also a stand-up comedian, Mr. Guy Fagan. Guy, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. Yeah, thanks for interviewing me. And it all seems a bit surreal, doesn't it? Being outside, just on the steps here.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, just next to Wembley Way. Good to see a socially distanced a Sunderland fan.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah,
got to keep up those government guidelines at the moment, considering we're on the end track to recovery now. Well, we hope so anyway. But final this weekend, but the heartbreaking thing we should point out first, no fans allowed in. How just disappointing is that, honestly, a season where we're both at Wembley, because we have got two very passionate fan bases and we're not allowed to go. How do you feel about that?
Well, I've got to say, just in two minds, really. I mean, we've been at Wembley a couple of times over the last few years, so it's not so much of a novelty for us, although I guess it's nice to be here. But, I guess your fans, are definitely our fans, have been actually boycotting this competition to a certain extent. Any sort of credibility it did have after the introduction of the under-23 teams was completely destroyed when it changed its name to the Papa John's Trophy.
Of course.
But we have done quite a good job at boycotting it. I mean, it has helped that we've been in a worldwide pandemic and we've not actually been allowed in the stadiums.
Yeah, I mean, you touched there, the Papa John's Trophy final, not quite the same ring to it as you would call the trophy a lot of other names that we've seen being called over the years. The fact that it's been named after a pizza, it's got a bit of a humorous element to it, I should say. Absolutely.
I think both teams will be looking for a slice of glory. Definitely. But we won this trophy in its former guise back in 1990 when it was called the Leyland Daft, or we used to call it the Leyland Daft Trophy then. But it did have a modicum of credibility then. But, I've got to say, I think you've had quite a long wait, haven't you, the Mackhams for you?
Yeah, 1973, Bob Stokoe running on the pitch in his hat and Mac. No wins here since that day.
So there you go. So I think we will certainly do you the honour there of handing you your next win at Wembley, I think.
All I'd say to you is, Guy, if I was in your shoes right now, I'd embrace being underdogs, mate. I would say us Sunderland fans, considering our record here, we're more nervous at this moment in time. I can guarantee you that now.
Okay. I mean, I guess it's good in a way you haven't got the fans there to kind of maybe add to that sort of kind of anxiety around winning your next trophy. But if you would have seen our loss at home to Crawley yesterday, I'm sure you'll think there's nothing to fear whatsoever.
Well, not only that, but the news that your top goal scorer this season, James Vaughan, also one of our ex-strikers, didn't do so well in the Simon Grayson days, if you've watched Sunderland Till I Die, but he's missing for the final. 19 goals in all competitions this season. How do you feel about that one?
Yeah, well, it's gutting, really. He is our main sort of goal threat, really. And he's also, he's aggressive. He kind of puts himself about. The ball sticks to him. So he's kind of a big part of the way we play. And I think, definitely from a kind of promotion point of view with the league, most Tranmere fans are very anxious about James Vaughan being missing. Although he has been a bit of a peripheral figure in this tournament. He featured a little bit in the semi-final. He came on, but he's not really featured. And I think definitely for this final, I think most Tranmere fans, they're happy for him to be away from it, really, if he needs to be recovering and back ready for a promotion push.
I mean, going back to your season, obviously Keith Hill came in November. How influential would you say he's been for the decent run you've had all the way to the final in this competition?
It's a funny one, really. I mean, Tranmere, we started really badly. I think we had 10 points in the first 10 games, and that was under Michael Jackson. He was Mickey Mellon's assistant, not the one. So we were bad. And then we had our kind of current assistant manager in charge, Ian Dawes and Andy Parkinson, who was the youth team coach, and they did incredible. I mean, I think they won 5 games in a row, and we had all sorts of rumours going around that we were possibly going to be getting the Cowleys, Nigel Adkins, all these big names coming into the fray, and then we just beaten, I think it was Grimsby 5-0. We demolished them, and most sort of Tranmere fans were thinking, give it to the assistants, till the end of the season, and then. So Keith Hill gets wheeled out with all of his Bolton connections, and we hate Bolton, Tranmere fans, so it wasn't good timing at all, and Q meltdown on Twitter. So it wasn't a good timing, really, and I think even the most optimistic of Tranmere fans, they were looking at his record. He'd done really well at Rochdale. Most fans thinking, has he only done it at one club? Would he be able to transfer that to Tranmere, and not really having that connection with the fans and sort of coming from Bolton as well, and all of that. But he had a bit of a slow start, and then we finally sort of picked up, and he's sort of got a bit of consistency, and we played some excellent football, actually. There's been a couple of games we played some amazing stuff, and we've won ugly as well a couple of times. We did the double over Bolton. We beat Carlisle, who were one of the fancy teams, away a couple of weeks ago, quite convincingly. He's done all right, but then we've kind of stuttered yesterday. We've been really poor at home, which is a bit bizarre.
Our performances of home this season has been quite sceptical as well.
So I don't know what that's about, because there's not the fans there to kind of get on their backs and all of that, and get on his back. But we've been poor at home. I think we've only lost one away game since we were beaten by Exeter before Christmas. So we're doing really well away. The jury's out a little bit on Hill, I would say, but he's done well in this competition. We beat a very strong Peterborough side, and we beat Oxford, of course, in the semis, and we've played pretty much our fringe players for this tournament as well.
I mean, going back to Sunderland Tranmere Rovers as a fixture, let's just say there's been some memorable moments over the last few decades whenever we've come up against you. The one that stands out for me is John Aldridge having the cheek to throw on a player in an FA Cup tie when you'd had a man sent off, but you've got a few others you want to tell, don't you?
Yeah, so, I think that there's a lot of comparisons with Sunderland and Tranmere, and definitely where we're from. I mean, where you're from up in the northeast, you're surrounded by the Geordies. We're on a peninsula. We're surrounded on 3 sides by the Scousers and the Welsh. But it even goes back, I think, to the Mercantile Credit Tournament of 1988. I mean, that's how far my memory goes back. And the Tranmere fans were actually in the next enclosure to the Sunderland fans, and we built up a bit of a bond. And I mean, it did help. We'd beaten Newcastle, but it kind of all started then, and then I remember the last game of the 1996 season, just before Euro 96. Sunderland won the league at Prenton Park, and there was 16,000 Mackhams singing Peter Reid's name, and he still looked miserable. I mean, they were telling him to cheer up.
As the famous song goes.
There we go. Yeah, and then I think that bond was put in jeopardy, like you say, by us kind of fielding 11 players to defend a free kick in the FA Cup in 2000 when we just had Clint Hill sent off. I think there's a lot of comparisons. We both big sort of footballing areas, very working class areas. We've both had a lot of misery. I think it's definitely true to say. In the last couple of decades, of course, Tranmere went down to non-league, as you might know, and we've come out of that. I mean, we've had sort of a couple of the glory days at Wembley more recently, and last season we were actually towards the end of the season. We were on a good run. We won 3 in a row, and then COVID happened, and we had the PPG demotion. We don't like to call it a relegation. We were actually demoted by calculator. We thought we could get out of it. We had games in hand,
just about sneaking over the line. But it honestly put us right in the mire.
Yeah, and Rick Parry, head of the EFL, in his wisdom, went for the PPG, and we were demoted. So we've got a bit of an axe to grind, shall we say? So this is it's a bit ironic that we've got to the final of this tournament, the EFL trophy.
So, Guy, coming towards the end now, set the scene. We're drinking our cans on Wembley Way. Both sets of supporters are bonding very well. I'll come up to you and ask you your score prediction for the Papa John's Trophy Final 2021. What are you going to go for?
Okay, I think it's Sunderland going to be grabbing their slice of glory in the Papa John's Trophy. I think it's going to be a 4-1 win for you guys. I think Max Power will kind of come up with a 35-yard screamer and secure himself unlimited pizza for life.
Guy, thank you so much for being on, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. And with you being a stand-up comedian, where can we find the work that you do?
Okay, yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Guy Fagan Comedy. I also run an international online sort of Zoom comedy show called Roller Coaster Comedy, and we've got a Facebook page, so check us out there. I'm also running a podcast called Dog on the Pitch podcast. We're going to be interviewing comedians about their experiences in football and being football fans, and some funny stories there. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks very much, Guy. Bring on the final.